JPMoss here. Thank you for subscribing to my channel here on YouTube. This video is going to answer some questions as to why Benico, the extraterrestrial human hybrid I have so often talked about having a connection with, talking to, things like this, and meeting long ago in Texas through the military intelligence that had her in custody against her will and against my will. Why the descriptions I've given of her seem varied. There's a varied, there is a consistent description I've given from the beginning, but often there's a bit of a varied description. And I'm going to explain that very quickly, what's going on here. The ETs involved, the Zetas and the hybrids, have thought projected into my head, screened my mind, while the account I've given you has always been consistent. The inconsistency is the description. And there's a reason for that. They have thought projected into my mind, blonde hair at times, black hair, large eyes, smaller Seguin eyes with black hair. But everything Benico told me has always been consistent in the memories and what she's told me now in the present time. And they have done that because the American government, as I've been told by the Zetas, they have in their custody some of their people and some of the hybrids still today. So it's a ransom case. It's like saying, I have this person. Either do what we want, or we will, execute the people we have here, things like that. So they know that if I give a specific description of the hybrid girl that identified herself to me as Benico, and by the way, that's a name she gave me to identify her by. She may be identified to the American intelligence as Beanham or, Rachel or Debbie or some other designation. It may not be Benico. But so it's all about. So then, what they rely on are descriptions, face descriptions. It's almost like going to the police department and saying, what did the suspect look like? So they can identify which hybrid is involved with me by the face, by the description of the face. And if you get the exact description of Benico, identical, right? Everything is exact and you've got it right and you put it out there. I've been told that what they'll do is they'll go back to their database. They have a database of Zetas and hybrids that have been dealing with the American government at Four Corners, New Mexico, the underground base there, S4, Area 50, all these places. They have a database. They have briefings of their names to know them by, their designations, and they have this extraterrestrial government by the toe. And so they've got a lot of their people in custody, prisoners, against their will in these underground bases. And what they'll do, this isn't conspiracy theory, this is what I was told. What they'll do is they'll go get that particular file out and say, the being that he's talking about looks like this one. Yes, we have one here on file by that description, and she goes by the designation B9 or something like that, or B71 or something like that. And then they take that file and that face to the Zetas that are in these underground bases, and they'll say, here, this is the hybrid interacting with JPMoss. Well, we want her here. We want her here now. They'll go get her. They have to. They have to cooperate. They've got a custody issue going on, ransom, kidnapping going on here. Prisoners that have been captured and are being held against their wishes, have been shot down and being held against their wishes in these underground bases. Any suggestion of cooperation is a lie. There's no cooperation going on here. All of the hardware they have in S4 on all these bases, as I was told from Benico, has been stolen. It's pirated. and any beings they're dealing with are there against their wishes. They may have managed at times to take control over areas at times, but again, this has been thrown back because the government steps back and says, you've always got so many more of your people flying over, and we bring them down all the time. And we have them here. We have them in custody. And they're like, oh, no, don't do that. We'll do what you want. What do you want? And they would. They probably would. That's why the Zetas did not hop out and save us that night in 1992, as according to my testimony. Why didn't they show up and just kick everybody's butt? They have some of their own people, and so as prisoners, they can't save. They can't do anything. They're really being held. Their backs against the wall. So Beniko, then, I have the memory of what she looks like, and I know, even in my mind, I know this. So what I put out there, and I'll say, that's Beniko, are varied descriptions. There's going to be, I've drawn her with large eyes. Then I've identified photographs where this is a hybrid with very smaller, much smaller Sagine eyes. Egyptian-like eyes. And so it's very confusing for the researchers at this point. But it's not them who are being deliberately confused. It's who's watching these videos, which are being deliberately taken down a road here, being kind of misled about what she looks like. I have to admit that even I myself was getting tired of the different images in my mind of what Beniko looked like from that experience. And now, I'm not just focusing on 1992. I've had experiences with her since. And I thought, even in my experiences with her of the last few years, I've encountered her, I've met her, and I'm aware this is an experience ongoing. I'm on a ship, or I'm in my own house, and she's standing in the living room in my house looking at me, and I've seen, she looks like this, and I said, wait a minute, you're Beniko. As if I don't know. I'm like, what the hell? And it is her. And she's making that clear to me. Yes, it's me. And I can feel from my soul that it's her, because we have the same soul. And it's called superposition theory in quantum mechanics. How two particles can exist in different places at the same time but be the same particle. Superposition theory, Schrodinger's equations talk about that in quantum mechanics. I agreed to this, and we quantumly fused into one soul in the early 90s during the encounter, 92. But what we have are two separate containers, two separate bodies. We have two separate brains. And so we have lots of separate experiences going on. And neither one of us controls the other. Okay? And it's not as if I can just kind of peer into her head and see what she's seeing any more than she can control this and see what I'm, Although in the overlapping of the situation of higher mind, and she does have the ability to see and hear and know what I'm seeing and hearing all the time. Again, that was agreed upon. Yes, and this cannot be undone. So we have a single soul, a single consciousness, and a single mind, but two separate brains and two separate bodies. How that works is we are one soul. We, again, like I said, it's a quantum fusion of quantum in quantum mechanics. It's an entanglement of what a soul is. A wave energy is what it is, a frequency. And once that frequency is matched in the same wavelength, what happens is the two become one. It cannot be unmatched. That's why it cannot be undone or broken. This connection with her cannot be severed or broken. You can't unmatch something that's now become It's like trying to unscramble an egg. It's the same thing. Once you have fused an egg's yellow with the clear content together, you can't. I hear it all the time. There's people, well, how can I break that connection with you in that hybrid? I really hate the fact you have that connection. I don't like it. I'm like, what are you, CIA? Who are you? Why would you have an issue with this? What's your issue with this? And so there's all kinds of weird psychological interrogators going on, coming at me from all directions. So that video should clear that up. But you can't unscramble an egg. What's done is done. You know, you can't. It is the same thing with light. You know, once you have a green light shining on the wall and you take a white light and you match the frequency of the white light, keep turning it until it changes to a green color and it matches it exactly with the light shining on the wall, that both green spot becomes a green spot, the two spots come together. You can't distinguish the two apart. It's both a green light. You can't change my frequency out, soul frequency out, so it's out of sync with her, because it's the same wavelength. What's done is done. In the way quantum mechanics works, the weird way of quantum mechanics, you can't do this. You can't do this more than once. You can only do it once in a current incarnate life of a person who has a soul, was born with a soul. You can only do it one time. My frequency is this, her frequency was that. When our souls bonded and became one, when two became one, which is very beautiful, it's very sweet, that wave front is the same frequency. I'm struggling to explain this as best I can. This is something that she and I did together. It is a form of, yes, it's a form of mating among her kind, because they deal so much with spiritual and energy and souls and things of that nature. The extraterrestrial human hybrid here, this sweet little girl, Beniko, the Zetas have a whole lot of technology based around spiritual. Well, we're one soul. You may be asking yourself, why would you agree to something like that? Well, I did. I was 20. I was single. There was no girl in my life at the time, and I know she was a different girl than what most guys go and have love for. No, she wasn't, a college co-ed cheerleader down the road. She wasn't a local girl from down in Azles. She wasn't from Eagle Mountain Lake somewhere, or Pelican Bay, walking down the street in a little bikini, barefooted. Hi, Jason, let's go out. She wasn't from Houston, Texas, or Philippines. She didn't have any, okay, so her background was a little bit different. But after talking to her for a few hours, we bonded. There was a love there. There was an urgency and a need. It was a survival issue, survival in the sense that we all need someone. They have a need, the same needs that we on Earth have. Love, nurturing, food, liquids to survive. They can breathe air, take care of families, things like this. So that there's the same need. And our situation called for that. We were both about to go through something that was extremely upsetting and painful. She was in the custody of military intelligence, and had been coming to me anyways without my remembering it. And when they brought her to me, they didn't know that she had connected to me prior to this. She said she was going to be used as a weapon to scare me, that they bring ETs to ordinary members of the public. Military intelligence do this, and it's kind of like a form of psychological warfare. They then give you amnesia through drugs and a device called a brain taser. And at some point in your life, you go to remember the experience, and you become very traumatized, and you end up taking medication. You have a lot of anxiety and panic, you begin to doubt the memories. That's what they want you to do. They give you traumatic memory experiences, a traumatic experience, so that you have, this is how intelligence and the CIA go to war with your mind. They give you the most traumatic, bizarre, or unusual experience that they can possibly give you. Then they superimpose over that some amnesia, slightly kind of tase your skull a bit with this electronic taser. It's a low voltage taser, goes to the side of the brain, hits the memory centers of the brain, as I remember now. And it's all come out of me. I'm remembering this. Now, you are supposed to remember years later. In my case, I'm not sure if they wanted me to remember it or not. I'm assuming there's a possibility they wanted me to remember. Okay, so I remember. And the idea was that I was supposed to just have a big old damn panic attack and think I was crazy. When the memories began to resurface of this experience with this extraordinary girl in 1992, in the year 2010, in September 2010 here in England, that was my first reaction, that I've lost my mind. And I thought, well, maybe I need to go seek help, go to a doctor, go to the GP, general practitioner, go to a psychiatrist, get on medication. Am I having some kind of a breakdown? I was writing in my diary, I'm losing my mind, oh my God, oh my God. And then there was a purring sense of love running through the memories, which was unusual. This is from another source, coming from someplace else. I'm getting some kind of a love feeling from an unknown source, and it's not necessarily coming from me. Am I imagining things, possibly? What the hell's going on? And then I got told, I felt called to go outside. Because I was having a lot of issues the first few weeks, and this came back. I was having a lot of issues with this. I thought, what do I do with this? You know, how can I have met a girl who looks like that? What is she? Oh my God, what is she? And then I felt, go outside, and I did. I went outside, I looked up in my garden, looked up in the sky, and I saw two white glowing, no, I saw one white glowing object, which was then a second one appeared next to it, which then became two. And then the two followed side by side, slowly across the sky. And it was a beautiful statement of reunion. This is a reunion. So there was one object, and then one appeared next to it. Just gently wakes up and appears next to it. It's like turning on a light. It just appears next to it, and the two objects fly side by side across the sky right over my house, slowly, silently, not blinking or doing anything else. And that came exactly when I was told to go outside to look up. Within the minute I was told to go outside. So I follow my feelings and follow what I'm experiencing. It's very psychic. It's all psychic at this point. And so, are these ETs here? Yes, they're very real. Yes, this is happening. I cannot sit down and give you an exact description of Beniko for this reason, because I had it out with him at one point. I kept getting different stuff appearing in my head. The account is the same, what she told me is the same, but then I'm like, I'm seeing this, I'm seeing that. I know she looked like that in the initial memory in 2010. Well, then there's this. I finally had it out with him. I said, look, why am I getting different images here? And the message was simply what I just told you. We cannot let you report exactly what she looks like. She's not identified as Beniko to the American intelligence government. They have us, some of us, in custody, prisoners. They're held for ransom. Okay, so there's a ransom issue going on. And if you give it an exact description, Jason, then they're going to know exactly which one to go after, because she's interacted with people on Earth before. Then they're going to be telling us to bring her down, and we're going to have to follow along with that, because they've got a lot of our people underground in America in those bases. As your government is trying to control this everywhere in the world and control every aspect of the ET contact to maintain its power over this planet. and they want our technology. Everything's about taking technology, taking technology, taking technology. They care nothing about the spiritual side of this, or the thought projection, or this energetic connection. They don't care anything about this. This has been a good video. This is one of my best videos I've ever done. One of my best. And it really is... It's my privilege and honor to have you subscribing to me, or you on Facebook as friends, whichever way this video ends up. It's my privilege and honor to have you here. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for being... because you're a part of the process. You're all a part of this. You're not out there distant. You're all a part of this. You're going through this with me, this journey with me. And as always, I say to you, take notes, write notes, don't leave anything out. Always record everything. Even if you have to make video recordings of your experiences, please do so. But always write things down. And always question what you think you remember. How do I know that? And how do I know that? And how do I know that? And how do I know that? Research, 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 research. Go online, go Google, go mad with Google. Keep going, keep asking questions, and don't be afraid to reach out. Don't think you're crazy, you're not crazy. Yes, in this society, this is not accepted as rational, normal, or explainable. This is not something that this civilization, this society sits down with and says we accept as being a real thing. So there are going to be a lot of people who may use it against you, what you're putting out there. There have been lots of cases of paranormal experiencers such as myself who have been taken to court. It's been brought up in court through divorce, through custody issues, mental health issues. There's all kinds of ways this can be used against you, the experiencer. So we're always making sacrifices, and we are constantly, being hit, punched one way or the other. You may have governmental issues with people from unknowns who come after you. You may have very zealot religious people who think you're dealing with demons, who want to burn you at a stake and want to hurt you and attack you. You may have white supremacists who think this is demonic and come after you. You may have, you may be living in a country where they want to try to have you sectioned under the mental health laws and have you locked up. People have reported you for something that looks a little crazy because it scares them, because they're frightened. They don't understand this. They don't know what that means. I'm brave. I put it out there because I know that many of you experiencers are going through this too, and I'll make that sacrifice for you because I love all of you. We have the same language. We share the same background. We have the same issues, the same stuff confronting us. What's really scary about this subject is human beings. Human beings are frightening. Meeting these non-human beings, or these entities, ETs, whatnot, having these experiences is like a trip to Disneyland. You know, it's wonderful. It's nothing wrong with that. The scary part is you're dealing with unknowns in the military. You're dealing with people who claim to be CIA, stalkers, people who hack you, people who threaten you, people who threaten your family. Humans become the scary element in this. Even well-meaning humans who are just saying, look, we just think you're out of your mind, we want to have you locked up, have you examined, to test you for all kinds of whatnots. This is where you get the scary side of it, where things start getting really, your freedom is being compromised in some way, because if someone is saying, I just don't believe you, even if you had evidence, it gets even worse. And I do have some evidence. I have taken infrared pictures that do look non-human. These entities do look non-human. I would present that as evidence in a court of law and say, have your photographic analysts and researchers and software people look at that photo and tell me if they say that's a hoax and that's a fake, then lock me up, have me sectioned. But if you can't dismiss this photo, and you can't dismiss it, then you're going to have to dismiss the case against me. And you're going to have to say, right, I got to dismiss this case against this guy as a probability that this is happening to him, or that he's having what the law would call experiences with unknowns, paranormally unknowns. They won't say ETs. And Jason's interpretation is what we're hearing in the videos. And so legally, the law, the judge would then have to say, okay, then he's just having some unknown. We do have suppositional evidence, or what they call a preponderance of the evidence in the law. And the judge then makes a determination and says, well, legally, there is something here that he's presenting as evidence of his extraordinary experiences. He's not just making these videos. He's actually saying this with something alongside it. And, okay, case has to be dismissed on those grounds. Because the court often, they're not, the law, the court, hospitals or whatnot, even psychiatrists or whatnot, are never, and the police are never going to be as interested in pursuing something that involves having to go to those extents, to that level, where they have to go, where it looks like there's something more to explore here, but it looks like we can't debunk the pictures. Well, then there's a probability there's some truth to this, then drop it. Otherwise, you're spending a lot more money, in taxpayer money, to do what? Disprove something that lots of people are claiming right now and have evidence to support. Lots of military people have come forward saying this is happening. Lots of government people, senators, congressmen in America, the Canadian defense minister has said this is ongoing. Nick Pope, who was the former head of the Ministry of Defense, Nick Pope, who was here in Great Britain, he worked for the Ministry of Defense. He was their intelligence and analyst guy. I mean, you've got a guy like Bob Lazar, who claimed to be the physicist working at S4 area down in Area 51. He says he worked on actual alien craft. He has managed to prove that in some respects his story. There's so many people that have come forward with credentials and credibility and backgrounds and degrees in psychiatry and medicine. The late Dr. Lear, who used to pull implants out of people and analyze them in laboratories, and the alien implants did things that there's no such technology on Earth that can copy this thing. And Dr. Lear was a doctor, and he was presenting that kind of hard evidence. So it's like, well, I'm not alone in this community, but then they're going to take that into consideration. You come after this guy, and he's got some evidence on him. Well, now you go to take on JPMoss. Now you're having to take on that community. Okay, now you got to take everybody around the world. You're taking on everybody, not just somebody else in Britain who says this, or in Ipswich. You're now going after everyone on Earth who's ever been involved in this subject. So the law enforcement step back and say, look, he's not a threat to the public. He's not threatening us. He's not threatening himself. There's no suicidal tendencies or homicidal issues going on here. He's not saying, these entities are saying go hurt people. We're going to walk off this. We're going to leave it alone, is what we're going to do. And we're just going to walk off the subject with him. Leave him to it. Because otherwise you're taking on everybody. You're now knocking on everybody. So there are thousands and thousands around the world. And that has a way of becoming very public. That has a way of hitting the newspapers and the media. And you better get it right if you take me on. You better get it right. You better be able to disprove my photos, which are very genuine. And you better get it right. Because you're taking on, then the media finds out. It ends up in the Guardian newspaper, it ends up in the East Anglian Daily Times, London, and New York. It goes all around Los Angeles. Now I've got publicity hitting me all over the place. And that community of paranormal experiencers jump out of my defense and run to my defense, is what would happen. And would be saying, wait a minute, leave that guy alone. You know, what are you doing to him? Wait, oh. Now, that starts confirming the conspiracy theories all over the world. Well, are the police working with the CIA? Maybe they've got connections to the American Central Intelligence Agency, and this is all part of some covert plan to take that guy out. So everybody that comes knocking on my door goes to take me down over what I'm saying, you're going to get fingers pointed at you from pretty much everyone in this community of UFO, experiencers, paranormal experiences. Are going to come after you. They're going to want your name, what department you work for, where you are, what hospital, everything about you, what court that sat in, and they want to know every detail of what went down and the names of the officers involved. And they're going to say, and you do have some crazy conspiracy theorists out there who are going to say, well, first of all, this is confirming JPMoss's stories right there. People went after him. Secondly, then it turns into, well, the ones involved, and you better have no contact with anybody in America. I'm going to say this to you right now. You better have no contact with anybody in North America. That goes for anyone coming after me. If you have any dealing with or any background, any hair-size background with people in North America, and you worked on an American base, you've got family over there, anything, and they're going to find a connection. Conspiracy theorists are going to they will find that out. Yes, they will. They've got a lot more money than I do and resources, and they're going to go, the ones that went to get him, the officers that got him, the court, or the guys that, the people that were around him at the time, worked on bases or had these connections. CIA, that's the CIA, and they're going to be drawing those connections on you.